Ew.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, we are late. We started talking about Lord of the Rings, then we lost track of time. Much like Gandalf lost track of what was wrong in Moria for centuries.
I have no memory of this place.
Yeah. Oh, that one important thing I was supposed to remember. I seem to have forgotten it conveniently. Oh wait, I remember. We should probably run.
He's old, and I'm forgetful.
Elves are old. They didn't forget this stuff. But
what you are regretting, like what you're just forgetting, is the fact that he's been on Hobbit weed like this whole time.
It's true.
Yeah, his love of the halflings leap as slowed his mind.
He's like, I love that old Toby. But welcome back to Graham Crackers. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Here at Graham Crackers, we are all about making memories with friends, whether those are with TTRPGs, RPGs, or just video games. We're all about making memories that will last a lifetime, with people you love. Tonight, we are once more resuming Goldshine Investigations, or should I say Silver Sanctum skits? I don't know. I don't know who we are anymore. We're having an identity issue. But this is our weekly Friday game. Tonight, I am playing Gaheris Nervos. Sorry, let me back up. I'm playing Lord Gaheris Nervos Blackmont, the Tiefling Bard, Paladin, Oath of Conquest, and I don't have a class in Bard yet. Or a subclass. Man, it's gonna be a whole mouthful when I get there. But I'm joined by some wonderful people who, while they need no introduction, I would love to know 3 things about each one of them. Who are they? Who are they playing? And who's going to ask the question that we all answer today?
I could do it, but I want to make sure somebody else gets a chance to. Okay. I guess I will ask. If your which part of Nightmare did your characters think was the closest to actually frightening them, if it didn't outright?
Ooh. For Gaheris, it was the first room they went in. When they awoke when Ivron and Gaheris awoke in Nightmare, that was probably the closest it could have been.
Okay.
Hello everyone. I am Pharaoh. I will be playing Utaka, a Water Genasi cleric rogue, a Tempest cleric, although there might be some bugs and other stuff too, I don't know. Well, as we said, we're having identity crises around here. Utaka's, the scariest room in Nightmare for him was the room where they were very small on the plate with the trolls, and it had nothing to do with being small and almost being eaten by trolls, and a lot to do with the colossal sized mimic that the table became. And like that moment when he was on the flying through as the table came up and started eating the trolls, that was truly like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids terrifying. And off to you next.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Kari. I play Israel, the half-elf, Fae-pact warlock. And as for her most nightmarish part of Nightmare, oh man, but there were so many. I have to say that she was most upset by the first room. After that point, it was pretty much a study in like how disassociated could she get from the experience past that moment. So, yeah. That'll be the final answer. The first room, that really messed her up and put her on the back foot the whole time.
All right, well, I guess that's me. Hi, everybody. I'm Derek Sword. I play Griaz Bramble-Pelt. He's a druid and a bugbear and a little bit of rogue. As far as the scariest room, so not necessarily a room, but the thing that was chasing them, like dragging the blade and everything, that was pretty scary. Deeply, just being chased and not knowing what that thing could do. But the scariest room was the room where it had all of the cells for their darker halves and seeing what the party, what their darker side was, what their worst fear for themselves was. That was deeply unsettling. But I will hand it off to the amazing Jeremy.
All right, thank you, Derek. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy, and I will be playing Lord Ivron Blackmont of the Barrowdale, Protector Asimar, Oath of Devotion Paladin, and brother to Gaheris. And I have to agree with Derek on this one. I think Ivron, or the worst room for Ivron would be the one in which they have to fight one another. As cathartic as it might have been for us as players, I'm sure Ivron is very disturbed, as I think one of his fears is losing his brother, especially by his own hand. So, but without further ado, I will now hand it off to our wonderful GM, Matt.
That's me. I'm Matt, your DM, and I will be playing everyone else. And the scariest part of Nightmare for me was the phobia of firearms, because I knew that this party was going to get guns. And without further ado, are we ready to dive back in to the Goldshine investigations?
Heck yeah.
When we last left off, I got the music, Graham! When we last left off, the party continued to settle into the Silver Sanctum as Ivron makes political motions to potentially bring an end to the Bluefield War after years of endless conflict. But a few personal matters had to be attended first. Israel discovered that Teniel was in contact with a Children of Red Sight spy that was hiding among the Zaidan refugees in the Silver Sanctum. And upon passing this information to Utaka, who passed it along to Gaheris, Gaheris managed to identify the spy as a man named Ishmael, one of Brooke Buckler's crew, who had, as part of their end of the bargain for the Children of Red Sight, had infiltrated the refugees to keep tabs on them, and has been reporting everything that they see down here. Given how long the Silver Sanctum has been running, it's likely the leadership of the Children of Red Sight are already aware of you. But not all is lost. Ivron's political motions have so far been going smoothly, although it remains to be seen if the leaders of the colonies will be civil when arriving at a freshly conquered and populated by Undercommon town. And meanwhile, Utaka, with Griaz at their side, intends to make a pilgrimage to Vermin Hollow to meet their own ends. And Gaheris and Israel intend to potentially aid and lift the curse from Buckler's crew, which will take away the motivation for them to assist the Children of Red Sight, even though Buckler and her higher-ups in the crew appear to already be helping you. And hopefully get the spies for the Children of Red Sight rooted out of your city and hideout before they can bring any potential sabotage to the meeting that's being organized. With that, Utaka, I'm assuming you would have had Tails retrieve Griaz as well before making way to Vermin Hollow?
Yeah, and I think Tails was aware that he was coming with, because I believe that was mentioned in front of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case. And I'm just switching up the music. There we go. As both of your visions flash with the usual transportation that Tails has been providing for you as a taxi service, your noses immediately fill with the familiar acrid odor of swampland as the wizard of your sanctum drops you off at the entrance of Little Pine. You see the Endocrin Mire, what Griaz you would know as the Eastern Swamp, opposite your own. And kind of taking an immediate look around, it's about like early afternoon at this point, kind of midday, and you see that there's already a small group of halflings that are currently essentially mining the entrance to try and open the church back up. However, it appears that they're about halfway with that and have not fully reopened it yet. But Utaka and Griaz, you can both see, again, halflings mining away at the barricaded and caved-in front entrance, and several kind of ropes and pulley systems set up in the hole that you guys had entered in the first time. It appears that the halflings are in the process of cleaning up the church. As Utaka, you may recall that when you guys were here, you sealed Vermin Hollow. Once the existing insect population was corralled, they were able to seemingly reclaim the church and start refitting it to resume their worship. With that said, Tails gives the two of you a bow. As you can see, several halflings kind of look a little jolted and confused as they see the three of you having kind of just appeared out of thin air. But Tails, seeming nonplussed, just gives the two of you a bow. And will you require anything else?
Nah, I think we got it from here.
Very well. I will see you when your business is concluded. And he gives a wave of his mage hand and vanishes. The halflings kind of look at the two of you, seeming more confused than ever, as you can see a few of the miners kind of like muttering to each other, seeming like they're debating like who's gonna draw the short straw and approach you guys. But eventually they send a halfling forward dressed in a kind of bluish, simple canvas cloth garment, white streaks of fur, and kind of peering at you with these kind of red bloodshot eyes. The fur on his head is kind of like tousled and messed up, and he kind of slowly steps forward cautiously before kind of waving kind of pinkish hand at all of you. Hello?
Out there.
Hey, this looks like it's taken you a while. Y'all need some help?
Well, if you're here to offer assistance in the excavation, we certainly wouldn't refuse it.
Yeah. I will look from him to the others and kind of just tilt my head, and as I do so, Garnet kind of crawls out of my hair and perches on my shoulder, and I'm gonna slip around him and pull a bit of something out of my pouch and kind of like smush it between my hands, and then raise one of them towards the stone blocking the doorway. And I will cast Stone Shape to move 5 cubic feet of it at a time, however many times is required.
Okay. I'll say that given that about half of it is already excavated, and it's not a particularly big landslide in of itself, I'll say 2 uses of it will be enough.
All right.
And the halflings all kind of step back and go from kind of confused to just incredulous, as you know, smearing this kind of clay-like mud. You shift the stones away, and they kind of crackle and crumble as you. I'm assuming you're just kind of flattening them out and kind of dispersing them so that they're out of the way.
Well, yeah, and with Stone Shape, I can choose the shape that it changes into. So if the doorway itself is stone of make, I will reform it to how it was.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Uh,
Or the best approximation I can remember.
yeah. Yeah, because you've never seen the entrance at its fullness. It was caved in when you
Yeah,
got here for the first
but I
time.
can kind of extrapolate from what, like, indents there are on whatever remains of the doorway, kind of like the general
Yeah.
shape that it was.
Okay. Just for fun, make me an Arcana check.
Sure.
Yeah, because you'll be able to make it in the right shape, obviously, because of the spell. But just to see if you can get all the fine little details in.
That's going to be a 12, which I would like everyone to know is above average for me. I'm really good at this.
All right. Using your stone shape, you kind of spread the stones out just so they're not blocking the entrance anymore, and start reforming them. Cracks begin to fill in, boulders begin to smooth and lengthen, and one half of the door, other half of the door, you manage to essentially create a sort of like, as again, some of the rocks have already been just straight up removed, but you are able to essentially, while it's not the full artistic double door it once was, you're able to essentially create this kind of functional, almost saloon door, where it's like kind of open, but still like a functioning doorway. And the halflings all kind of like step back, and you can see a few of them kind of look at their like pickaxes and shovels and like kind of like debating with themselves. But the one you had spoken to with the white hair kind of just stares for a moment before just like kind of taking your hand, still covered in the stuff you coated them in, and just shakes your hand gratefully and just thank you. We don't have much, but if you're seeking repayment...
Nah. I figured I should leave it better than we found it.
Well, welcome to Little Pine. Ninkalim be with you.
And with you.
The both of you are more than welcome to enter. While the reconstruction efforts are still ongoing, and we're still ensuring that all of the dangerous wildlife is being corralled and reintegrated into Vermin Hollow, the church is still open for worshippers or those seeking sanctuary if you need it.
I'm gonna give him a side eye and a short nod, and then just kind of like start walking in. I don't know if they would recognize the what's the word I'm looking for?
Symbol?
Yeah, the symbol on my cloak, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, you can see he kind of stops and peers at the symbol on your cloak as you turn away from him and start walking in, and eventually does kind of pipe up as you're about to like push open the doors you've created. Excuse me, sir. You wouldn't happen to be a worshipper, would you?
More like eyes and ears.
Oh. Well, and you're not sure whether he believes you or not. You can see his ears kind of twitch a little bit, but he does give you a smile and a bow, and I shall make sure to inform the people of the town the good you've done us. Most of the excavation is on the inside is going well, but if you feel obligated to assist us, we will not refuse.
Why don't you hold off on telling everyone? Because I'm not done here. We got a bit of something to do.
If you insist, sir, we will keep your silence.
Have you been down in the sanctuary?
once or twice. I'm in charge with assisting with the excavation of the entryway and ensuring that any captured vermin are reintegrated into the hollow.
All right. And I gotta ask, your old high priest used to hold sermons here, whatnot. Did he ever make it back out of the Underdark?
I am afraid that the bishop has not been heard from since the Inquisition of the Dark Elves.
Rough. All right. Well, I'm gonna do what I can.
Thank you, sir. And he gives you a respectful bow, Griaz, seeming to not hold any ill will for what you are. And the two of you are allowed to enter Little Pine.
Okay.
So this is the first time I've been here, obviously. What should I know to expect? Because everything y'all said about this place is that it's less than fun.
They were over dramatic. Look, we might have had to eat some bugs and like not get devoured by bugs, but it's fine. This is where we met Barry. It's not all bad.
Yeah. Yeah, how's the berry thing working out, by the way, since she learned how to talk?
She's got some interesting opinions about things. I found that out. It's been an experience, but she seems happy.
Okay, that is good, and it would be immoral to take that away at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why do you say it? Why do you mention it like that?
Oh no, I'm stating just a plain fact that we all agree on, that to grant sentience upon a creature and then take it away is a terribly immoral thing to do, regardless of the consequences, how we may feel about the sentience that, or what that creature chooses to do with it.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't want to take her sentience away from. Okay.
Same. Agreed. Perfect. Glad we had this very unnecessary conversation.
I'm gonna kind of like rub at the side of his temple.
Incredible. All right. I will say Utaka. Is there anywhere in particular in the church you're heading towards, or are you just going to kind of take it on a room by room basis?
So this depends on how long we have. Namely, because the spell I need to cast takes 24 hours to cast. So do we have 2 days? 3 days? I do probably need to sleep between those two casting. If I were to do 2 casting, I would need to sleep.
And well, basically, do you have time? And because the only thing you're expecting is the political meeting Yvonne's putting together, which is supposed to take place later tonight.
Oh, this day? Why are we here today then?
You said you wanted to go there. I said at the end of the last session that it sounded like Utaka was going to do the pilgrimage while the meeting was happening and Gaharis was dealing with the spy stuff.
Okay.
Take that, Ivron.
What, Graham?
I said, take that, Ivron. You and your meetings.
I don't know. I was under the impression we had time to do this during the weeks between. Okay. I guess I'll look back at Griaz. It is gonna take me a while to do this. I don't know if you want to head back or if you want to stick around.
I mean, do you want to do this alone? Are you gonna be safe alone?
I'm not alone. I'm a gesture to Regina, who should be here.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just been quiet. She looks very discomforted at being back here, and it's just seeming like she's trying to look anywhere but at the doorway you created, and it's just kind of has her arms crossed, and it's just like kind of doing her breathing exercises as she looks out into the fucking Endocrin Myers waters.
Yeah, no, that wasn't an insult to Regina at all. I glad she's here and all that, but she just don't seem super comfortable to be here. No offense, Regina. And also, she is not particularly martially inclined or magically inclined to defend you while you were doing what you're doing. Again, no offense, Regina. So I just didn't know if you feel safe enough with just the two of y'all, happy to go back, but at the same time, I ain't no diplomatic folk that even if Ron's, pacing back and forth waiting for me. So I can be here or there. That's up to you, bud.
It's possible, I suppose, there could be a problem. I mean, if there is a problem, I'll have to stop the whole ritual and, deal with it and electrocute some fuckers, and then start again. That would be, like, a lot of inconvenience, but...
I'll watch your back, and if nothing else, brought a deck of playing cards, Regina. I can just sit and bond for a minute.
I guess I can't play.
No, you cannot. That is, again, the point.
Fine.
I can sit with you if you prefer.
No, I mean, yeah, you need to be here, right? We talked about this.
Yeah, she kind of looks down to the ground and gives a small nod, but doesn't say anything.
In between you and me, the big guy's kind of hoping you're a bit remorseful. I don't know. I'm not going to force that on you, but I think being here is important.
Very well.
Then if y'all don't mind, this might take a while.
Do your thing.
Okay. Then I guess if we're gonna sit around here for 2 days, 2.5 days, then I will first start hallowing the inner sanctum itself, not the sanctuary, and then do the sanctuary second.
Okay. All right. So basically, you're gonna starting at like the entrance hall, just basically hollow the kind of grounds of the church, and then go for the sanctuary where it was desecrated.
Yes.
Okay. Utaka pushing through the set of doors, Griaz following behind, and Regina, after kind of like hovering anxiously, finally manages to work up the nerve to slip in just as the doors are starting to shut. You find yourself in Utaka, what is to you a familiar room. Griaz, you find yourself in a massive dirt and rock room, a set of stairs going up that then flattens out into a large entrance hall, a wide set of double doors in front, and some smaller doors lining the sides. And Utaka, you recall that this room was being used as a nest for the spiders of the hollow, but at this point, the egg sacs and cobwebs have largely been removed. However, there is still, Griaz, you can make out a few like thin trails of spider silk that have been left behind, and the hole in the ground above, as well as a few additional ones that Utaka, you do not recall being here last time you were here, letting in sunlight that basically in these like little Swiss cheese holes in the ceiling are letting in the afternoon sun, bathing this rock and dirt entrance hall in this intense afternoon light. And various halflings just kind of mingle around the entrance hall, cleaning up the last threads of spider silk. A few of the ones inside are kind of gawking at like the door where they had left the room and it was being mined out, and then came back and now it's a functioning saloon. So a few halflings are kind of stopping their work and gawking at the door, and you can hear the ones on the outside kind of passing the message along, leaving out who did it, as Utaka had requested, but just saying that like this part of the job has been done. And Griaz, you watch as Utaka, just for fun, how would you flavor the actual ritual of hollowing these grounds?
I believe it takes an enormous amount of incense and such, so Utaka kind of drops this heavy sack on the ground and starts finding whatever braziers are in the room and lining the basins of them with the incense and alighting it, kind of going down the hallway.
Okay.
Before I think when he settles in for the extent of the ritual, he will do so up at the altar.
Okay. This won't influence your ability to do it, but make me a religion check.
That's going to be an 18.
Okay. Griaz, you follow behind Utaka as they head past the entrance hall into the nave of the church, where you can see Utaka, where, as you recall, this place was turned into an impromptu fortification as the halflings desperately tried to fend off the dark elves. The pews have been repaired or replaced and set back up. The bodies and inquisitional lances that you recall Gaheris using the enchantment of for a while have been taken away. And the stone slab on which the priest would stand, the very place where you earned Ninkalim's favor the very first time, lies elevated. And sure enough, you can see many incense burners and censuses and braziers, I was trying to think of that word, lining the walls. And as you start to remove them, fill them with incense, and get ready to start your ritual of hollowing these grounds, you notice a few of the halflings who are just sitting in quiet worship in the nave, kind of watch you for a while. You notice quite a few of them look at the symbol on your cloak. And whether by some kind of divine providence or simply like their just natural understanding of what you're trying to do, as these obviously appear to be relatively religious people, you can see that they don't have a priest. From the sounds of it, their previous priest has still not been located and a new one has not been assigned to them. So Griaz, as you just kind of file in behind and just kind of take in the sights of the church, you watch as halflings begin to start kind of following Utaka, and occasionally even like helping pick up like braziers and censuses and taking them out into the entrance hall. And Utaka, as you're starting to just make your personal preparations for the ritual, you watch as other halflings begin to do so as well. You notice several miners kind of put their tools down and approach. A few from outside kind of slip under the door and start kind of following you. And by the time you've laid out all of the incense burners, the censuses, the braziers, you have a small kind of cluster of about 20, 30 halflings that are just kind of watching you. And as you kneel,
I think every now and then during that process, Utaka might gesture or say a couple words, like low in halfling, just like, oh, Grep, over there, and then like just like little things, but not really explaining what he's doing.
Yeah, and you notice the halflings don't seem to expect any. They simply follow you along, follow your instructions as best they can. And as the preparations are complete, and you kneel to pray, Gri, as you watch as the halflings all do the same. As Utaka begins the process of hallowing these grounds for the new generation of worshippers of Ninkalim. Griaz, I presume not taking active part in the worship itself.
He's got his own weird shit.
Yeah. You kind of stand by and you see Regina, who kind of stands next to you, seeming not really comfortable standing near the halflings, just kind of has her arms crossed and is just kind of watching Utaka flit about the room before settling into prayer. And she's kind of like twisting her foot into the dirt and kind of kicking pebbles around, and like seems like she's just looking at like the walls, the ground, the ceiling, like anywhere but directly at Utaka and the gathered worshippers, as if like the very sight of it is like so antithetical that she can't take it in.
What's up? It's not your deal?
Not exactly. I don't know how much they told you about our first meeting, but...
Yeah, I mean, so?
She kind of bites at her lip and finally looking to you as she seems to be able to actually, like, look at you comfortably. She kind of... Is it wrong that a part of me still feels angry?
No, that ain't wrong at all. That's the thing about feelings, it can't really be wrong.
Utaka says that I should feel a sense of remorse to complete the removal of my curse, that I should feel that what I did was wrong and that I deserve what happened. And I do feel that it was wrong. If I could take it back, I would, but... And she kind of looks up at the sky and at the gathered worshippers sitting in the streaks of afternoon sunlight, bathing them all in red light. I just can't bring myself to feel like I deserved that.
Maybe you never will. And that's okay. I don't think a lot of people deserve what happened to you, Regina. But, you can't help how you feel. And maybe you'll feel differently in the future, but nothing you do is going to change that. Nothing you do is going to change the fact that it happened. You accept that. You're dealing with your feelings right now. It's the best you can do. Ain't nothing wrong with your best.
Thank you. Why are you here? You didn't have to come along. I know you said it yourself, I'm not exactly a fighter, but...
Well, I mean, I knew that, the blue fella would be doing his stuff, and see, you were a little uncomfortable with it. Plus, I'm the only one in the group who ain't had an experience here, so figured I might as well just check that box. But no, I mean, I ain't got no problem with bugs or hallowed places, and just don't like anybody to be alone.
And she looks to you, looks to Utaka, and their gaze stays on Utaka for a long moment, and they kind of give you a slow nod. And after a bit, she smiles and, well, it seems he'll be a while. Do you still want to play that game of cards?
Yeah, actually, I picked up this real neat deck of cards. I figured you and I could play a new type of game. And he'll pull out a deck of cards and kind of split it in half. This will be your half. I shuffled them already. And this is my half. We're going to draw a card one at a time and see what wins.
All right. How do I know if I've won?
Oh, you'll know. Yeah, it'll be very clear. Well, it's like highest suit, right? So like an 8 beats 2 and 10
Yes.
beats an 8, kings, queens. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I remember some of the Dawn Inquisition played games like these.
All right. Well, it's time to I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. It's time to duel. And Griaz has split a deck of illusions in half. And I actually have a random card generator pulled up, so they'll play war with basically creating illusory versions of what appears on those cards to duel against each other.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully not full size, terrifying the congregation.
I mean, they appear as full size. They are illusory full size images of the things that appear on the cards.
Playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
They are playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Going on?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I got.
Okay.
I just wanted the clarity of yes, there is a Yu-Gi-Oh card battle going on with illusory like dinosaurs in the background of this congregation.
Yeah,
Great.
Griaz gets like
Fantastic.
multicolored spiked hair and grows like 2 inches taller. Yes, it is time to duel.
All right.
Stand down, Seto Kaiba.
I have a deck of cards that's already been
There's a
shuffled.
shadow to fell.
And Griaz, who do you wish to draw first?
Well, I was going to say because it doesn't have any 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, or 7s.
Yeah,
so I
was just gonna draw from mine until like I got one of those.
Okay. Griaz will go ahead and draw first then.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Okay. So on mine, he drew a Jack of Diamonds,
which is an assassin.
Yes, I believe that is an assassin. So an assassin. I'm so sorry, Pharaoh. An assassin just appears and in full like Yu-Gi-Oh form does like a dab with knives or something. I don't know.
And Regina has drawn the Joker, which creates an illusion of her.
Just her.
Ooh, what form is she taking though?
Yeah, I was going to
Which
say.
is it?
I was going to say. Griaz, do me a solid and make me a religion check with advantage.
Oh boy, me. Let's see. That was an 18. I don't think he has anything in. Oh, it's 19. Okay, +1.
Okay. Do you mind if I add a little small touch of flavor to your assassin illusion?
Go for it.
Utaka, facing toward the nave of the church as you lead the process of hallowing this ground. Unbeknownst to you, but the worshippers who are looking towards you can see the two of them in the background. And as you two draw from your cards and kind of put them down, Regina kind of putting hers down a little more hesitantly, but you just like slamming it down, your assassin takes on the form of a blue-skinned boy with a rat-symboled cloak. And as Regina draws the Joker, it takes the form of her monstrous, corrupted, cannibalistic monster form. And the two illusions engage in a completely illusory battle. And as this room is bathed in blood-red light from the afternoon sun, a seeming angel of Ninkalim spreads his gospel, and as they bend to prayer and hollow the ground, they see visions of the battles and great feats this priest has undertaken. The halflings are enraptured, and if they didn't already think Utaka was an angel, they definitely do now. As your illusions accidentally further Utaka's ascendancy in the halfling church. As Utaka, unbeknownst to you, but there are whispers spreading through from the moment you entered that you might be an angel of Ninkalim. And this has only confirmed it in their eyes.
Incredible. As we watch Utaka try to turn into a puddle in real time.
Utaka, you have no idea because this is all illusory.
Of course. I meant like
ju-
the OOC version of
No,
Utaka
yeah. I was
to see
just saying
themselves.
as like a side thing. And yeah, Utaka, every so often you'll kind of glance up and you'll see the halflings are just staring at you like you're just the most interesting thing in the world. But they're still bent in prayer and kind of join you in helping hollow the ground. None of them qualified to lead the ritual, but devoted enough to follow it. As Griaz, you and Regina's game of war only helps cement in their eyes all of Utaka's great feats. Do you want to play any more rounds of it just to see what happens, or?
Oh yeah, I mean they've got like a day and a half.
Yeah.
They will
So yeah,
duel monsters.
for fun, yeah, drawing a few and seeing what happens.
Ooh, okay. That is a King of Spades,
Which is the
a priest and two acolytes.
acolytes.
Why?
And I'm not even kidding. Regina drew the Joker again.
Jesus. Okay, one of them has to be like good Regina, bad Regina. Did you shuffle your deck? Because
I
are you
did.
just okay.
It was free shuffled. Otherwise, they would all be in order.
Okay, I was gonna say Joker is a
Yeah,
lot.
no, yeah. Like I just drew 2 more times just to see what I would get, and yeah, like 10 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. Like it's random. The 2 Jokers just happen to be in a row. All right, for fun, if you don't mind me flavoring a little bit of it.
Go for it. Yeah.
The battle between the illusions becomes greater, and 2 new illusions join the fray as a illusory form of a dark-helmed knight wielding a nightmarish blade, and a white armored knight wielding a much purer, almost silver-looking blade join in the battle, fending off the monstrous demon as it like completely silently, like, but you can imagine it would be like rattling and hissing and clicking. Initially, you're a little concerned at Regina having to see this, but as you look back, you can see Regina's actually like kind of watching the battle and actually seems kind of interested in it. And as you go for the next round, she seems like actually kind of excited and like draws from her deck a lot more eagerly now. It seems like she's kind of disconnected herself from the visage enough to just be enjoying the spectacle. Let's say 1 more draw.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 2 of diamonds. That is a singular kobold.
And she drew 10 of diamonds, which is Fire Giant.
Do we reenact that moment from Critical Role with
Kind of. It's a very proud kobold. Ha ha! Oh.
9 days? Swish.
Yeah, I'll be real. I don't know that moment, but sure.
Okay.
Spurt the kobold.
Yeah, I've heard the
9
name.
days.
I just haven't watched that far yet.
It's a little kobold with all the gadgets and stuff, and it charges into a den of fire giants and throws something which does nothing to the fire giant.
It throws
and fire
hornets
giant
that deal like 3
squishes.
damage.
Yeah.
It's Gallagher.
Oh no! All right, sure. Griaz, you throw down your next card, and at this point, whether it's like Regina kind of disconnecting herself from the spectacle and just enjoying the fun and kind of relaxing a little bit, as she draws a fire giant, you watch as your kobold illusion just gets eviscerated. And you can tell the halflings are kind of starting to lose the plot a little bit, but at this point they're just filling in the gaps on their own. Like you can hear them kind of like mumbling to each other in halfling. Utaki, you occasionally catch snippets of what to you is just like kind of random prayer or conversation in halfling as they kind of talk to each other, just like, yes, and then they slew the fire giant. And then, and the kobold's body was laid to rest. Just mumbles as they try to basically piece the game of war happening in the background and somehow connect it to the mythology they are now creating of Utaka.
Yeah. Regina, you're whooping my ass. All right. This is fun.
Am I? I wasn't sure whether the Joker counted.
Apparently, look at my health points. No, never mind. I'm getting mixed
Look
up.
at my mana pool. The joke's on me for using a creature deck.
Activated my trap card.
This is fun.
Yep. Okay. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. That's not, at least a bit terrifying. It was kind of like the halflings. Oh, not my pony, not my rodeo. All right.
And let me actually see. Is there a card for this? Because I see threes, but I don't think I see a three of hearts. No. Okay. I was just seeing if her last draw would cause anything.
Yeah, I don't think threes exist in the deck.
Well, yeah, because I saw there was a three of there's three of something. Three of. I could have sworn I saw three. Huh. Maybe I'm just seeing things.
2, 8,
Maybe
9,
I'm
10,
being
and then
illusioned.
face
All right. The two of you have a very pleasant game of war. Garrus at the Silver Sanctum. As far as you were told, this is around the point where, or rather, it is the day of the intended dragon heist, if I may.
Sure.
Do you wish to seek out Ishmael, or do you have something else planned?
So, would it be fine if I went to Basil to get the cure off screen? Because I think that's what Garrus would have immediately done.
Yeah.
Would have just been secure that, get that ready.
However, I will ask, because I was actually thinking about
Sure.
this morning while I was planning for this session. Make me a persuasion check.
Matt, you're really gonna make me make a persuasion check against someone who loves me so dearly that they moved all the way to this underwater kingdom? Yes, I will make it. That is a 17 plus 11. 28.
God, bards. And paladins, but bards.
I'll have expertise in it next level up.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Oh, Taka. Okay. And you're just asking for one potion of remove curse?
Either a potion or a scroll. I think Gaheris would definitely explain like the details of the curse to Basil and be like, what do you as a practitioner of magic and magical items think would best alleviate this and leave them alive?
He kind of ponders, and you can see the moment you started talking about the curse, he actually did appear very thoughtful and kind of thinking to himself, and believe it or not, I've been sitting on the treatment for this curse for years now.
That is very fortunate, as it seems that it may come in use.
They need not worry about starving. The curse has preserved their bodies as they were. As long as there is no physical harm to their mortal forms on this plane, then they will come out of the curse uninjured. Although... May I ask you a question, Garrus?
Of course.
We haven't had the chance to talk in so long.
That is very true. As always, I am in the open book.
And you half expect to start feeling the little gnomish hands on you when he starts playing his little illusory game. But you notice, from the moment you brought up the curse, Basil's actually seemed very kind of quiet. And he plays none of his illusory games as he kind of just sits on a trunk on his spider cart and kind of kicks his legs over the side and kind of crosses his arms and looks down at the ground in thought. And may I ask, if somebody came to you for help and you could help them, but you didn't stand to gain anything from it, and they couldn't give you what you wanted, what would you do?
I suppose there are two trains of thought on that. Just because they cannot provide something now does not mean they can never provide anything. But if someone could not provide you what you need directly, there are a great many people in this world, and it is like a chain. Each person connects to several other people. So by assisting people, you may be creating more chains between yourself and other people that could help you. So that's how I think of it, is if you only do something because it directly benefits you now, then when you need help, what sets you apart from someone turning you down because you can't give them anything?
I suppose you're right. How many do you need?
Buckler is what, 6 people?
She has in total about 15.
15. And that's including Buckler?
Yes.
There are 16. But for today, I only need to write 1. This is part of a negotiation, if you will.
At the point of a sword?
Ideally, no. At the handing of some cake. I think I probably have, like, a parcel of, like, what was it, strawberry cake?
Yeah. So yeah, you have some, like, kind of pink and white cake in a bag, and he kind of tilts his head, and a scroll won't do you much good unless you have a mage to read it. And as I understand it, your mage is currently on a bit of a pilgrimage. You could wait for them to return if you wish, but if you need this curse alleviated now, I can arrange something.
That would be ideal. On the subject of curses, we have never really spoke about your understanding of curses. How did you become so experienced? Was it from dealing in the wacky and the quirky magical items that you come across?
He kind of tilts his head, and you can tell there's a bit of consideration of, like, how much he wants to tell you. Because from what you heard of the gnomes that used to know him, he's always been kind of a private guy. But eventually, after some thought, he kind of smiles, and I used to live in Ayubis to the north, protected by the crystals, and that was my first exposure to these sorts of magics. The amazing things that those crystals could do. It was fascinating. But after a time, I got what you might call wanderlust. I wasn't content to stay in one place, so I started to travel. I wasn't the first, and I doubt I'll be the last, but I set out to start collecting. I'd seen a few magic items come through Ayubis in the past, and I wanted to find some myself. Met a few other good folk like myself along the way. Detective Mistra, Mr. Gnosis, who runs the organization. But my passion was less with supernatural creatures and more things. Would you believe I've never been much of a people person?
I would never have guessed that for a day in my life. Here, let me roll deception.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's a nat 20 for a 31.
He gives you a smile and just, you flatter me. there's a reason that I work mostly with myself. After being surrounded by family and living in a small little gnomish village, I got tired of seeing the same people every day. That's why I like doing what I do. You meet interesting folk. Adventurers, detectives, pirates.
On the subject of meeting new people, what do you think of the Sanctum? Are you
beautiful.
are you familiar with what our intentions are?
I've got the gist. You've not stopped and told me everything, but I gathered the important tidbits.
Well,
You intend to revolt against the GSIA and figure things out for yourself.
well, to be completely honest, my goals for this place are a lot more than that. Between you and me, I think that... What are your thoughts on the war? Personally, I think that there are people on both sides of it that have long grown bored and just require a place to live, grow, and seek a better tomorrow. For me, the Silver Sanctum is what could be. Something old, something new, something much like your shop, a little bit out of the ordinary. I think that what we have is a chance to do something not good. We've done good. We've done good work. But to do something great. I think this location, one day, if everything goes right, will be a thriving city. That people from all the plains, all the continents, all the dark and light recesses of the world can gather in peace. That is what I'm trying to create.
That's beautiful.
It can be, but it requires people like you. Not just me, not just the Goldshine Investigation Agency, not just former poachers, former adventurers, refugees. It takes ordinary folk that can dream of a better tomorrow, that are going to make this place what it will be. So, I suppose on your early question, who do you want to be from the next step forward is what defines you. I won't judge you, but I think that there are old ways of thought, and there are old foes, old fights, which need to be put in the past. And for those unwilling, such as the Cult of Red Sight, given most of the Cult of Red Sight we've encountered have made amends, I think what it boils down to is everyone wants to be better than they are right now.
He looks down at the ground and is silent for a while before kind of smiling. And, you know, to answer your original question, when the war first started, honestly, I didn't care. Even after I lost my house, my people lost their homes, I just built them new ones and left. And in the years after, all I cared about was, could I get something out of it at the end of the day? That's where the money is, magic items, if you know where to find them. You can charge a fortune for even something basic. A coin that rings when you throw it in a hole. An eye that lets you see around corners. A mirror. May not even be magical, but tell enough people it is and they'll believe you. That was why I moved to Terminus in the first place. Everyone knew how to do proper illusions and tricks, and I thought that's where I could make my fortune. That's where I met your people and you not long after. And something changed after that. Everyone that came to me before all of you was I was just making magic weapons or taking them and selling them off to one side or another of the war. Back before I built my shop, I just would find these things and sell them to whoever paid me more, and if the other side paid me more, then I would take it from the other. But nobody cared as long as they got what they asked for. You were one of the first customers I ever had that didn't ask for a weapon, that didn't ask for a discount beyond what I was willing to provide, that didn't ask for the best in my shop at the point of a sword. You just wanted to see what interesting things I had, and wanted to play pranks on your brother and put your opponents to sleep without harming them. And I was able to sell things that I thought were just going to collect dust in my store forever. So to answer your question, until a few months ago, the war was good for me. It made me money. And anyone who couldn't afford me, I could just wait for the next person. But then I met this batch of fools who just wanted joke items and silly little things, the things I wanted to sell from the beginning. And much like Tenniel himself, something about you just talking changed things for me. That's why I moved my shop to follow you guys around. That's why I started wearing the badge. That's why I discarded the badge when you asked me to. I can sell anyone a weapon, Geharis. And he holds out a glowing dark blue potion. But nobody's ever asked me for something to heal before. And that means something to me. To all of us. And he gives a smile as two more of him lean out from on either side of him.
Well, how about this? I think we open up a permanent shop for you here to sell whatever you want at whatever price you want, whether it's children's toys or pranks or maybe even, specialty pipes. How about instead of selling what the world wants, you sell what it needs? A little bit less violent, I think, in my opinion, but...
You're right. Although I don't suppose you'll want me to just discard my weapon stock, will you?
I'm certain that it could be put to good use in protecting others, not waging war, but just ensuring that people are able to survive, if you so wish. I'm sure that we could draft up something that is equitable for both sides.
I may take you up on that, Lord Blackmont, but if it's all the same to you, when this war is over, I want to travel again. I want to see the world. But it's nice to know I'll have some place to come back to. Home was never home for me. They didn't like me for who I was, so I just gave them what they needed and left. But you're right. I think I am getting rather tired of being what other people want me to be.
Well, how about the two of us go save someone's life from a terrible choice that no doubt would have ended poorly for them?
He holds the potion again out to you and kind of like jerks it towards you for you to take it.
I won't take it. I'm going to open my palm and put my hand out so that he can place it.
And he gently, almost reverently places the vial into your palm and curls your fingers around it. And as he takes your hand in both of his tiny ones, he is silent for a long moment before he... When you free them from this, tell them I'm sorry it took as long as it did.
I can do that for you.
I'll stay here until this war is over, but once everything is said and done, I want to see mountains again.
Well, there's plenty of mountain ranges in this world for you to see, friend. And I've no doubt you'll find them.
I've always wanted to see the vertical mountains. They say in the forest to the north, if you take a path through the Underdark in the mountains near where you found the lizard creature, they say there's a path that takes you to the other side of the world. And there's a mirror of mountains matching it. The head of the wyvern rather than the tail. I think I'd like to see that.
And so you shall. I mean, and anyone you come across, you'll be able to say that you helped end a war. Not many shopkeepers or people can say that.
I suppose that's fair.
Oh, one last thing.
Of course.
I've set some of my adventurers and agents to assist with Ivron's meeting tonight. But as a spellcaster, I know tales can't be everywhere. If you wouldn't mind assisting in just... I would like this to go off peacefully, but I know that I can't account for either side's actions or inactions.
What do you need me to do?
If there's anyone that attempts to spellcast targeting either side, if you're able to just alert us, that's fine. If you're able to counterspell it, that's better. The last thing I'd like is for someone to die to prove that the other side is wrong. And Ivron is a optimistic individual. I tend to be a realist. If either of these sides wanted an end to the war, they could have sued for peace long ago. But they didn't. And there is a third side to this conflict that they both know of that I'm not entirely certain won't get involved.
I understand.
And you will have backup. I've arranged several of my individuals to be there, if in case that I'm unable to. But between you and me, I think that this meeting is potentially the end of a war.
I hope so.
As do I.
I can't counter spells, but I'm a builder, not a caster. And he kind of starts rummaging around. He kind of pops off the trunk that he was sitting on and cracks it open and starts kind of rifling around in it. And eventually, here it is. And he holds up a very familiar dull gold stone, which he kind of tosses to you. And as you catch it, you see that he has given you a sending stone. Everyone else seems to have one, so I think it'd be nice for you and I to stay in touch. I'll make sure to inform you if anything is amiss at all. I may not be able to stop them from casting something, but if there's one thing I can do, it's keep an eye in a few directions and weed out the strange. Spent my entire childhood looking for elves in the forest. Makes no difference to me to try and find a few cultists in the town.
I appreciate it, and I'm going to pull out the monocle of true seeing. I'm going to place it in his hand.
This item is well used.
It's served me well. My hope is that it serves you well.
If my eyes don't deceive me, this is gnomish craft, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe one of my own things has finally found its way back to me. In truth, I've made so many, it's hard to remember. Are you sure you want me to have this?
I'm sure.
He kind of tilts his head and he goes back to kind of scanning it before you see he's kind of looking at like this very minuscule like side of the lens and no. Fifanella. There's a fine craftsman who ever made this. Perhaps I should seek them out.
Perhaps you'll cross paths with them.
If I'm able to get back on the road sometime soon, maybe. Thank you.
Think nothing of it, Basil. And
He pops the monocle on and kind of like adjusts his jacket, and you can see one of his duplicates kind of pops out from behind him and kind of looks him up and down and finally gives him like a...
little does he know I've now cursed him that any of the duplicates that now wears this will know which ones are not real. They're gonna have this worst day where they're like, I'm not the real Basil. It's just like...
Assuming they don't already know that.
Oh, yeah. I want a one-shot where the one Basil finds out that they are not the original Basil and that none of the people in the shop are the original Basil.
If one of you plays a gnomish artificer in a future game that's like one of Basil's like simulacrums that gained independence, I would love that.
What is this?
I'm volunteering now to be that person. I'm just claiming that I get to be the gnome that has become separate from my creator.
I mean,
Why don't we just all do it?
Yeah.
All Basil.
Yeah, we are
all
all
Basil.
just
all
Basils.
Basil all the time.
Hey.
Yeah, okay, so future one-shots we have to do with this campaign, like after the main story is over, is Animal one-shot and Basil one-shot.
Yep.
I went off. I made a family. I can't go back.
It's like Soma, I'm too different now. Alright.
So then I will take the potion, I will dip into a nice polite bow, and I will set
Which
off,
all three Basils return.
disguise myself as Harry, and head to the meeting place.
Okay. Geharis, as you say your farewell to Basil, who is in a much more somber mood than when you left him, but a part of you feels like that kind of gnomish energy that he's always had feels just a touch more sincere, and the smile reaches a bit closer to his eyes. And you take on your disguised form and go to meet with the Children of Red Sight spy, as on the surface, Ivron begins putting the pieces into place for what could be one of the most important gatherings of this age. And we're going to take a break.
All right. So we will be back at 10:15. That's 13 minutes. That seems reasonable because we always are either under by a lot or over by a little. So we'll see you all soon in 12 minutes now. Time is running out. Go! Get a snack. Get some water. We'll be right back.
Run!
Fly, you fools! All right, we'll be back in 12 minutes. See you soon. Don't go anywhere. We're back, everyone. I hope you didn't miss us too much. We are back with more Goldshine goodness.
Hello.
I hope you didn't expect us to be on time.
Yeah,
We
I
warned
think
you.
That's the only thing we are on brand with every week consistently. Is that no matter what time I say, I'm always wrong. I think there's been maybe one time that we were on time to the dot. That's because everyone was like, Graham, don't go over, Graham. Don't go over, Graham.
It's fine. They still love us. Yeah, welcome to the Goldshine Investigations, where we start too late and the breaks don't matter. All right. Are we ready to dive back in to the Goldshine Investigations? Very well. When we left off, Utaka and Griaz are beginning a 2-day pilgrimage of Little Pine, where Utaka is in the process of hallowing the grounds of the church, ensuring that the ground that Regina had once desecrated with cannibalism will be reformed. Meanwhile, Gaharis had a heart-to-heart with Basil, where they are beginning the process of potentially removing the curse that has been plaguing Brooke Buckler and her smuggler crew for near of a decade. Meanwhile, as all that happens in the Silver Sanctum and the Church of Little Pine, out in the daylight, we turn our attention to Ivron Blackmont. Ivron, you know at this point that your guests will likely be arriving soon. The meeting is at least planned to happen tonight, but you know what they say about the best laid plans. So with that said, is there anything you'd like to do while just going around in Jor?
I can't say there really is at this point. I'm assuming that Ivron had spent all this time making preparations down to the very minute details to make sure everyone was accommodated. Perhaps if Gaharis has willingly allowed for a sort of security team to be lent to Ivron, he would have posted them at the various exits and entrances and unsecure spots of the various. This is happening at Castle Jor, so the various places there. And then if the scouts aren't busy, Ivron would have them go out the various roads with intent on telling him who's arriving when. That way he can be there to greet them in person.
Okay. All right. So you're having the mercenaries that work for the Silver Sanctum, just basically keeping a watch over things, and the scouts and poachers watching the paths and basically just come to inform you whenever. Okay.
Sure, and I'd say Ron also would clean himself up, look nice, look presentable, shave off his beard. He no longer has to mourn his father, so he's clean shaven now, and just deck himself out in his fancy attire.
Okay. Ivron, as you stand out in the afternoon sun, silver hair flowing free and face cleanly shaven, as you are ready to do your job, both as the team captain, as Lord of the Barrow-Dells, and as person who intends to see this war end without further bloodshed. Eventually, at about noonish, midday, at this point, Utaka has begun the ritual in Little Pine, and Gaharis is having their conversation with Basil. Titanus of the Poachers approaches you, coming from the north. As you kind of, I presume, stand at attention, He gives you a kind of bow of the head and nods towards the northern part of the forest. And Empress is coming from the northern paths.
Truly. And does she come with an entourage?
A lot of them.
When you say a lot, is that an army? Like less than an army?
Unless she needs that many archers hunting food.
I suppose. Very well. Thank you, Titan.
Sure thing, boss. Hey, Ron, what will you do?
She's the one that's going to arrive first, or is arriving.
It seems like it, yeah. The other two have not gotten back to you yet.
Ron will. Damn, and no one else is here. It's just Ron.
Israel, what are you doing today?
She is joining Ivron with the cadre of adventures that she has been organizing.
Okay, so
She
yeah,
we actually have already scouted along the path up to where we're supposed to be meeting all these people, ensuring that traps were not set, ambushes were not laid along that path, and essentially watching that path to see that no one does try to sneak up from some unexpected path.
Make an
So
investigation
he's going to be
check.
coming down to meet, I guess, Ivron after that sort of security detail work has been being done.
Okay. All right. In that case, yeah, make me an investigation check to see if you find anything in the realm of traps or ambushes.
Exactly. We're running a FBI Secret Service security sweep is what we did for our VIPs.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah. That is a 6 plus 18 is 24. I can count.
Okay. And do you want to leave your post to go find Ivron or wait for him to come to you?
She's going to voluntarily walk down the path to find Ivron because she expects him to be coming up. She has left the other adventurers either along the path at stations or in the castle proper,
Yeah, I figured
be doing their jobs.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. There's easily 30, 40 of them. So
exactly.
Yeah,
she's got them milling on patrol routes. She's got them communicating to each other. They're
your
Secret Service has been deployed.
Yeah, you're overseeing security while Ivron oversees the the niceties and festivities. All right.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So I'm going to meet up with my co-coordinator here to give him the security brief.
All right. Israel, over the course of the day's patrols, there isn't much in the way of suspicion or traps that you can find. However, what does admittedly concern you is two things. One, the ever-present cold is only getting worse. At this point, snow falls basically every day, and the new residents of Jor are basically having to adjust to a constant winter. But they're making the best of it. The worst of the blizzard has passed. They're just trying to make sure they can handle extended snowfall at this point. And the second thing you find noteworthy is that there is a definite tension in the air. Whether they know the nature of the upcoming meeting or not, word has spread that the Emelian Empire managed to keep their hold on ground, and the Empress has taken it from Duke Fishburne. As a result, tensions among the orcs, harpies, and goblins that act as the new residents of Jor, tensions are high, as nobody quite knows if the Emelian Empire might make a move on the less defended town, as the only defenses they have at this point are what they were able to repurpose from the Empire itself and the underling fleet that is still stuck in docks trapped by ice. But you are one of the first to notice that the Emelian Empire is making their way. And I will say, given that you rolled high investigation and you're overseeing security, you, I will say, will have gotten a glimpse of them before going to fetch Yvonne as the rest of the adventurers. Do you want the adventurers and mercenaries to basically kind of hold them there, or let them enter the town and you'll just be with Yvonne to greet them?
I think I want to relay, like I've had them hold for a moment and I'm going to like relay them in a call or like a signal of some kind into the air to let them go ahead and let the party pass through.
All right. Easily done. Okay.
I have some really flashy spells now. Like, I feel like I can send an Eldritch Blast in the air that looks like a firework. I feel like that's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. with your range of Eldritch Blast, easily.
It's like, I definitely think I can do that. So that's probably what she arranged. And see the fancy blue-green sparks. You're good to go.
Okay. Okay. That said, you managed to get a glimpse of the coming visitors before you pass word along to the other mercenaries and start quickly working your way back to town. The glimpse you get is not completely unexpected, but still a little off-putting. You see over 100 soldiers, mostly archers from the looks of it. Although you see quite a few cavalry as well. In total, you kind of do a quick head count. You estimate there's probably about 130 of them. And in the center, you don't get a great look at her, but you manage to make out a head of blonde hair, wearing a red and green dress, which you presume to be the Empress. She is surrounded on all sides protectively by these soldiers, and next to her you see another figure not donned in the armor of the Emelian Empire, wearing an all-black, almost what looks like something Melvin would wear, but like almost gothic and all black, and an undercut head of dark hair over it.
Wow, so she brought her emo cult priest with her.
From the looks of it.
Cool.
So yeah, a contingent of about 130 soldiers, most of which are either archers or cavalry, the Empress herself, and some unknown guy accompanying her. Israel, passing word along as requested that you will signal when the adventurers may allow the Empress and her entourage to continue down the path. The adventurers kind of step out with their hands up to pass the word to her as you start making your way back to Jor. Ivron, not 2 minutes after Titanus passes word to you of the Empress's arrival, as you're gathering your things and about to head out to the northern forest to greet her, Israel kind of like less rushes out and more of this like kind of dexterous slink, as if the snow, like almost
that slow like lope that like woods people have. They've just got that lope.
Yeah, as if going
for like miles. So
as if the snow is not hindering her whatsoever.
Exactly. So she's sort of sliding in the last step, but she doesn't look like super winded. It was more like, that was a nice light jog. So, we've got the Empress and her entourage of about 130, mostly archers, but with some cavalry, and she has a strange figure with her, dressed all in black, robes like Melvin's.
Were there any sigils? Any markings?
Did I notice any sigils or markings other than that they resembled superficially Melvin's robes?
Not at the distance you were looking at him, no, but perhaps you can take a better look whenever you get a better look at him.
I've had the men hold them temporarily. Should we continue letting them forward?
Yes, by all means.
All right, one moment. And she's going to step out and quite honestly aim directly up and then and it's like little fireworks displays happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Firing your arrow into the air, it kind of and while there's no obvious visual indicator, do the two of you just wait here?
Or
Yeah,
should we
why not?
receive them? Yeah.
Okay.
Is Yao and Lauren with Ivron?
I presume as much. I usually assume the pets and mounts accompany their masters unless impractical to do otherwise.
Cool beans. And are Yao and Lauren awakened? Do they talk?
I believe you said you had awakened Yao, but I don't believe you had said you were awakening Lauren. You were training Lauren, but I don't think you said you were awakening them yet.
I wasn't sure what Griaz's plan was for all of them, but
Yeah,
I
but
know
if I recall, you have awakened Yao.
Oh.
As long as you're good with that.
Then yeah. I just want to know who might be vocal in meeting
Yeah.
important people.
Yeah. Lauren, so right now can only talk to Israel, but Yao, as far as I recall, is awakened.
Cool. Probably for the best. Then Iran would await with Israel and Yao and Lauren.
Okay. The two of you wait at the northern, well, it's the southern tree line, but relative to yours, the north, the southern tree line of the fleeting forest. And after a few minutes, you begin to make out the red and green uniforms and the Emilian army and the Empress approach. As they step forward, you see that the soldiers are mostly wearing the Emilian Empire colors, which are these kind of jade and emerald greens, and then just stark blood red. The crimson standing out garishly against the snowy forest. And as they approach, the cavalry all kind of like look down at the two of you cautiously. There's this kind of moment of pause as the archer battalion approaches with their bows in hand, and the cavalry start to kind of form a circle around the two of you. The two of you protest this or allow them to do what they feel they need?
Iran just stands there calmly, unflinching.
Mm-hmm. Israel basically stands and takes her cues from Iran, so she is also. I think this is very much the moment where like Aragorn and Legolas are getting surrounded by Rohirrim.
Yeah.
It's very much what's happening now.
Yeah, it has that vibe for sure.
So Israel's probably watching them, like from making sure that she's counting all of them and making note of who's where in the corner of her eye, but is otherwise taking her cues from the Aragorn of the situation, Ivran. And she is wearing her circlets and looks, I guess, mildly more presentable than just a woods woman. She has made herself look semi-official for this getup.
Okay. Israel, you kind of suspiciously watch in all directions as Ivran, you stand calmly and proudly as the riders appear to kind of form a circle which appears to be about 3 horsemen deep, and several layers of archers to your north. So no matter which direction you tried to go, if you had to fight your way out, it'd be, easily like 30 people you'd have to fight your way through, minimum. But the archers begin to slowly kind of flank to either side, forming this kind of central column, from which Ivran, for the first time, you both take in the visage of Empress Amelia Rosetta IV. The two of you take in the form of a surprisingly young woman. She appears to be in her early 20s. A head of blonde hair that appears to be about down to her back, but it's currently done up in these like severe buns on either side of her head, which is all encompassed in a golden tiara. The tiara itself has jade and emeralds and rubies adorning it to match the Emilian colors. You can see she is wearing a very fine red dress. And it kind of is, it's almost like a ball gown where it has that like cut at the thigh going down, except seemingly in the interest of being conservative or concerned about the weather, where there would ordinarily be that tear, you can see she's wearing a dress beneath it that is the jade and emerald green of the Emilian Empire. And she's adorned in fine medallions and rings and bracelets. But what catches your attention most notably is her skin is incredibly pale, almost matching the snow. And you can see her eyes are a gleaming, glistening gold, a very unnatural color for a human. And as she steps forward, the black-haired man you had seen, Israel, walks out behind her, seeming to almost like be constantly shadowing her. And indeed, the resemblance to Melvin is rather uncanny. He's rather pale compared to Melvin, but he has the same kind of scruffy black facial hair. It's not as long of a beard as Melvin's, but like you'd say it's about half the size, and an undercut of dark black hair that sweeps over this eye, leaving just one kind of almost like reddish yellow eye peering out. And again, a patchy set.
Your mom let you has a Sith Lord.
Yeah. And you see he is wearing, it's fine, what appears to be a somewhat patchwork black robe, although you can tell the material and garment is very fine, but it seems like it was what was once a fine garment that the man is having to work overtime to maintain. And as these two figures step forward, to your surprise, they both dip into low bows. And as they rise, the man simply crosses his arms behind his back and observes the two of you as Empress Rosetta holds her hand out to you, Ivron, and speaks. I take it you are Barrow Lord Blackmont, if I'm not mistaken?
One of two, my lady. And he reciprocates the bow, and if she has offered her hand, he will kiss it, as I believe is tradition. And that, I think you knew this might have been coming, but Ivron is going to use Divine Sense on everybody right now.
Divine Sense, let me just make a quick check, because I always get it mixed up with Detect Good and Evil. That's my problem.
I mean, it has Detect Good and Evil, essentially. You just get to know who's also a Celestial Fiend or Fae.
Exactly, it's you do both at once. Celestial Fiend, Fae, or...
it's Celestial Fiend or Undead.
Or Undead, yeah. For some
worries.
other nights, you get to Detect Fae, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Or Oath of the Ancients.
Okay. None of the soldiers register as particularly odd, and the dark-haired man gives off a very faint air, but you can't. It's too weak for your spell to get a good grip on it. But he definitely is giving you some kind of signal. You're just not sure exactly what it is. So something about him is triggering the spell, but not powerfully enough to tell you exactly what it is. However, the same cannot be said of the Empress, who registers to you as an undead.
Welcome, Your Majesty. I am, as you said, Lord Ivron Blackmont. This here is Israel Blackthorn, Lady of the Arcane Bow.
Are you perhaps related to the Blackthorn family out in the northern regions?
I wouldn't know, Your Grace. I'm not from here.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet both of you. I am... And she goes into another bow. And even though both of you already know who she is, it seems like she's definitely the stand-on-ceremony call to impress type.
Oh, yeah.
Empress Amelia Rosetta IV, representing the northern settlements of the Mazaish Common, the greater Emilian Empire and their Mazaish colonies, and the Rosetta family. We represent the human population of this great land.
Wondrous.
The irony not lost on Israel as she stares at this woman.
Right.
This is my vassal. Would you care to introduce yourself? And he kind of gives a low kind of smirk that doesn't quite reach the eyes as he looks over the two of you. And you may refer to me as Sir Real. And he stops as his gaze flicks over Ivron, and you notice he's looking specifically at Lauren. And he kind of cocks his head a little bit, and that is a fine animal you have in your possession there, Lord Blackmont.
Thank you.
May I ask where you acquired such a beast? And the Empress kind of gives a smile and puts a hand on his shoulder, and he's always had a rather peculiar fascination with creatures of that sort. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were using them as lab rats. I would never defile your castle with such depravity, my lady. I simply have a scientific curiosity.
Ivron would say, I simply found her in my travels. I was gracious enough to be given her company and companionship. But, Sir Real, is it? Where do you hail from, specifically?
He gives a bow, and I hail from the west. I am, in truth, not Emilian by birth. And he kind of pauses in thought, and it seems like he's a little uncomfortable talking about this, at which point the Empress kind of puts a hand up, but he is as much family to me as my own mother and father. He lived in the Western lands before they were seized by the Bluefield Alliance, and our family took him in. That is all that I feel you need to know about my dear friend's background.
As you say, Your Grace. My friend and I have come to escort you, if it would please you, Your Highness.
Thank you kindly. Will we be given lodging at the castle until the other rulers arrive? I suspect we are the first, and I suspect it may be some time before everyone else answers the call.
It may be, but yes, I have made as best accommodations as I can.
Very well. Then you may lead the way, Lord Blackmont and Lady Blackthorn.
Ivron turns and gives her a nudge and is like, lady, you best get used to that.
Well, I surely will. Never gonna get used to staring at people like that, though.
And with that, the two of you begin making your way toward Castle Jor. However, as you're doing so, Ivron, Surreal kind of slides up alongside you, but he gives you a kind of smile, which actually this time does reach his eyes, and pardon me for disturbing you, my lord. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the work you've done for my lady around this region and in our lands, and I'm glad that you are giving such a beautiful animal the care and respect it deserves.
Your appreciation is noted, and I thank you, for it seems as though you have taken good care of your lady. If I may, how long have you been in her service?
I've been in her service for... I'm nearing my 6th decade at this point. I was very young when I lost my family, but her ladyship was kind enough to be a dear friend to me even in early childhood. And on behalf of her ladyship, I do apologize. She has often told me that I make difficult first impressions on others. And given the severity of this meeting, I think it very important that we all meet on the right foot.
Indeed. Fear not, my friends, you have not given a poor impression.
Thank
but
you.
come, tell me about your land. And as they go on, I would assume everyone's maybe walking alongside if they're mounted, or maybe he's riding out, but he would converse with them as casually as he can until they get to where they're going.
Okay. All right. So you make conversation with the Empress and her seeming devoted servant in some way about the Emilian Empire, their country, and they also speak a bit about their homeland. As while Surreal is native to Mazai, the Empress herself is not, as these are colonies of the Emilian Empire, not actually their mainland. And Israel, anything noteworthy from you along the journey, or are you just going to join everyone and kind of casually conversing?
Probably she is clearly less comfortable about it, but she would make her best attempts at being as genial as Ivron, and often telling herself, what would Gaharis say? And usually sometimes going with that, because, you know, she doesn't really have many other examples of people who are good at talking to people. Because she is constantly having a new Taka in the back of her head telling her all sorts of things she definitely shouldn't be saying out loud, but that she is absolutely thinking. And she's like, I need to tell you Taka about this because he's not going to fucking believe this shit. Like...
All right. And along this trip, as Ivron is mostly in conversation with Surreal, Israel, you hear light footfalls in the snow behind you and see that the Empress is walking behind you. Her hands just clasped politely over her front. And seeing you kind of like nervous and startled, she kind of tilts her head at you and gives a smile. And may I take it that this is your first time dealing with matters of this particular nature?
I'm of a very different profession and have been recently elevated to any sort of nobility.
That's nothing
I'm
to be ashamed of.
engaged to his brother, the second Lord of the Barodale.
Well, in that case, I suppose that does make you a lady by right.
At this point, like, Israel, when she noticed, it was more of a just, like, startle notice, and then pointedly had slowed her pace so that they could walk abreast of each other, so that neither are behind.
She kind of tilts her head and gives you a smile, and kind of thinking for a moment, she looks around, and I was told that your team was much larger. May I ask where the other members of your investigation group happen to be at this moment?
They're all busy with their various tasks, I assume. I don't keep tabs on them every moment of every day, but they'll be joining us. Have no fear.
Very well. I was rather interested to meet some of them. Any one of them alone would make a rather interesting meeting. A dual priest of Ninkalim, a civilized bugbear, and a...
Israel hopes she says that to his face. Sorry.
And a Cambion who seems to have aspirations of his own. I'd be rather interested to understand the nature of this particular team you've assembled. I thought I met some interesting characters in politics, but your team has managed to impress me time and time again. I hope you continue to do so, Lady Blackthorn.
We try, Your Grace. Is it Your Grace, or is it Your Majesty? I'm, again, never had the lessons.
Lady Rosetta would be most appropriate. However, given the nature of our meeting and all the services you've rendered me previous, I would not begrudge you if you wish to simply call me Amelia.
How does Lady Amelia strike you?
If that is what suits you, Lady Blackthorn. Although, I don't recommend calling me that in front of my vassal. He gets a touch protective.
I see. Lady Rosetta, then, so as not to liven up the house.
Outside of small animals, I don't think much does liven him up. He'll cut people's fingers off with the same emotionless stare.
Charming.
Oh yes, he is when the mood strikes him.
He has a strange resemblance to someone I know.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Any idea who that, do you have a name for them? He doesn't speak of his family much. Perhaps a lost relative?
I couldn't say, but I have seen his robes before. Or at least a similar cut and style.
He's had those ever since he was a young child. Had to patchwork them together himself. A family garment, he said, but never spoke to me of the significance. Well, perhaps if you can send a message to this friend of yours, it would mean a lot to me if he could get to meet somebody of his own heritage. He hasn't gotten to speak with much of his own, mostly keeping to me and my immediate family.
The person I'm thinking of has a fraught relationship with their own past, and I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable bringing up something they might rather forget or get his hopes up over, nothing.
I understand, although I do hope you will forgive if my curiosity is not extinguished so easily.
I would think less of you if it was.
Then we are of like minds, Lady Blackthorn. It is a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
And as the four of you, with your large entourage, begin making your way toward Castle Jor, Ivron, you're kind of playing double duty, speaking to Surreal about just the nature of his home, what he can remember of it, and his relationship with her ladyship. Israel, to your surprise, Lady Rosetta actually does ask very enthusiastic and sincere questions about where you come from. And as she mentioned, she has knowledge of the Perusian lands, but has not had the pleasure of meeting with any outside of their nobility. So she's interested in hearing what the common life is like in a land she's completely unfamiliar with. Her questions come across as a little demeaning, but they do seem well-meaning at least.
Yeah, Israel, I think at this point has gotten at least somewhat familiar with the kindly meaning but demeaning nature of most nobility towards the peasantry, and does her level best to be gentle about that as she sort of goes, well, we don't call it that, or we don't refer to it that way.
We don't use that word. Or no.
Exactly. It's like perhaps you might wish to use a different phrase instead, but it would explain if it's general, like, cultural customs, she seems much more open about it. When it comes to her family specific, she is not really cagey, but definitely of the, like, when your employer asks you to take on a shift and you just say, I'm unavailable, and they keep going, but I really need you, and you just have to keep saying, I'm unavailable, because you don't want, like, we're not that close, man, it's not that deep. And she steers the conversation back to, like, better waters, or answers in vague ways that sort of segue to other parts of the conversation.
Okay. She mostly accepts your control of the conversation. She does, though, again, noticeably seem very curious, and that curiosity does not ebb easily whenever you steer her away from the topic of your family. She gives a bow, and at this point you guys are well up in the mountain that will take you to the castle, and she speaks up again, this time loud enough for you to hear up front as well, everyone. As she The Hell Knights will be not far behind us, although I cannot speak for the other nobility of this land. But the moment I mentioned the Barrow Lord's involvement, the noble knight of this region insisted on seeing to it personally.
Did he? Forgive me, my lady, but of which knight is this?
Noble Knight Cyril Loke.
Oh, yes. I believe Ivron has heard about them.
We've established in this way back during like the Millennial March, but yes, we established that Cyril Loke was essentially grew up alongside you two, sort of as a half sibling, as Donahir suspected that he was of similar origins as Ivron. So he was a silver-haired Hell Knight that was raised alongside the two of you as sort of a distant half sibling. And with the two of you gone and Donahir dead, was the one who, while he didn't take over the Barrow Lord, as he did not feel it was his right, being so distant from the family compared to you two, but he did take Donahir's position in the Hell Knights.
Oh, very good. I can't wait to see a fellow member. And, Ivron will dismount and try to... Pardon me, my lady, if you don't mind. Your entourage is rather large for the castle itself. Are there arrangements, perhaps, that they could make closer to the castle, or would you like them to go down into the town?
I think it's more than fair that my soldiers get to see the town, but if you cannot see to lodgings for all of us, I will make sure word is received that they will be instructed to set up camp outside of town. Rest assured, we do not intend to make a nuisance of ourselves. If you need to head back down to see to accommodations or to receive any upcoming nobility, my dear friend and I can see to our lodgings in the castle if you have staff on standby who can see to it.
We do. Let me fetch a few people. Ivron and I'll handle this, and Israel will go find a few of her security personnel. And working with the castle staff, I suppose, they would be able to escort the immediate entourage, being Lady Rosetta, Surreal, and whatever sort of honor guard they want to have posted outside of their rooms, some number of 5 or less each.
Yeah, which...
and would arrange them lodgings in the castle.
To your surprise, their honor guard actually is rather humble. They request 2 of the cavalry knights that they brought with them.
Exactly. 2 men-at-arms. Cool.
Yeah. And the 2 of them are rather bulky guys as they walk alongside her ladyship and her friend. You can see Surreal kind of glancing over his shoulder at Ivron as you pull them away, but she kind of nudges him, and the 2 of them start engaging in low, whispered conversation as you guide them.
Eavesdrop.
Make a perception check.
Oh. We do love being a half elf. That is, what was my perception? 2. All right, 17.
You are not able to hear Lady Rosetta's half of the conversation, but you can hear Surreal's mumbled, kind of more bassy responses, as those are more intense and thus not lost in the snowfall and wind. You can't hear what she's saying to him, but you hear as she just kind of starts talking to him in a low whisper. You see him kind of smile lightly, and he says, "Perhaps I will go looking. It has been a long time since I've seen my family." she kind of whispers more to him, and he kind of puts his hands up and, rest assured, I would do nothing to embarrass you, my lady. I simply intend to ask a few questions, nothing more, nothing less. And again, more whispered conversation, and he gives a nod, and perhaps I could convince him to part with it. I've wanted one of my own for so long. Do you really believe they are who they say they are, my lady? And you can't hear her response, but he kind of gives a low nod, and then I shall act accordingly, my lady. And the two of them, again, all of this very under the cover. If it hadn't been for the fact that his voice is deep, you would not have picked up any of this. And the two of them, along with their two paladins, follow you into the castle. As Ivron, do you head back into town?
Ivron would, I think, try to send a security person into town and wait for the others, the representatives, to come. He wants to be prepared and ready.
Okay. So sending off one of the adventurers to take up your previous post, you prepare to greet the next delegate who may or may not arrive. Down in the Silver Sanctum. Harris, do you simply go to the front gate and disguise as Harry and approach Ishmael if you can find him? He said he wanted to meet by the front gates. Okay. You see the man clothed in the red bandana, just kind of leaning back with his arms crossed and one leg up against the gate. A kind of small crowd is gathered at the kind of outer rim of the dome. And as you approach, you kind of look around, and what few snippets of conversation you can hear, you can see people are looking at the surface of the water and pointing, and you can see thicker and thicker ice caps beginning to form, the water only getting colder. But to your surprise, as you kind of weave into the crowd to start making your way towards Ishmael, you can hear people among the refugees and those you've hired that aren't up top helping the other two, just kind of whispering to each other, can you see any? Can you see any? Well, they're not going to be bloody well arriving by ship in this ice, are they? And just kind of arguing with each other. And eventually you approach Ishmael, who gives you a smile and a nod, and kind of opens up his arms and kind of pulls you into a friendly, casual hug. And glad you were able to make it. Come, I think I managed to get a glimpse of something that isn't just ice down at the southern tip.
Well, what'd you see there? Was magic stuff or a creature or something like that?
Yeah, and do you walk with him as you're doing this, or you're kind of holding him up here?
I am walking and talking, as I said.
I
will say something else. Does the ice look natural, or does it look unnatural?
Make a nature check.
Oh no. I'd like to use my chat inspiration.
Go for it.
That is a 18 total.
18 total. Yeah, there's always the one stat that gets neglected, but
I think I have either half proficiency or proficiency in every skill at this point.
No, there's something that gets theoretically neglected. The ice does look natural in terms of its formation, but it is currently late Inarius. So while cold is certainly not unexpected, it seems like it's far deeper than what the people here are used to. And you do know that blizzards have been ravaging the Arrowhead Desert since you last saw Kenny Caldwell.
Yeah, see, that would have been Harris's first thought. Is like, is Kenny swimming down here?
Yeah, so the ice looks natural,
Yeah.
but only because of the extreme cold he's
Okay.
creating. So,
All right. Yeah, lead the way. I'll follow you, and I'll just let him direct us.
Yeah, and
I will say, I've got the potion in like a pouch.
okay.
That looks big enough to fit maybe a dragon egg or fit like a dragon. And then I have a little parcel that I'm carrying under my right hand side that is the cake.
Okay. And you can see he kind of glances to the various things you're carrying before giving you a smile. And as you're walking, kind of still nudging your way out of the crowd, he just kind of talks to you, like almost casually, just like, I think I may have seen a ship trying to break its way through the ice. Maybe it's the Sultan making his way to that meeting they're having. Maybe we can get a glimpse of the ship while it passes over.
Yeah, that'd be real cool. I ain't never seen, ship that big or carrying, a noble. That could be cool.
And at this point, the two of you break off to start going down one of the more empty thoroughfares, as, again, most of the people are gathered up to look at the ice formations and see if they can't spot any of the delegates arriving. But the moment you're away from the crowd, out of earshot, and going down an empty street, he kind of... So... I have unfortunate news.
Yeah? What's that?
I can't account for everyone like I was hoping for. Captain says that last she saw the shorter blue one, they disappeared with the fuzzy one. Don't know where they went or when they'll be back, and we can't have them coming back in the middle of it. As far as I know, the white-haired one and the elf are up on the surface, and that leaves the Cambion completely unaccounted for. So he's probably wandering around here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, is that us natural? I mean, or is that, the stay frosted guy?
Yeah, Kenny, wasn't it?
Yeah. Ringo traveled with him a little bit, from what I recall.
As far as I know, it's likely him, although last I heard he was just told to head into the desert, didn't say what he was supposed to do, so he may just be camping out there waiting for the boss to give him orders.
I mean, do you think he's coming here?
I feel like if we were bringing all of our agents here, we would have gotten word, wouldn't we?
I don't know. I mean, the two of us didn't know we were both here until, we stumbled on each other. It's entirely reasonable that maybe people up top are no longer telling guys like us what's going on.
You've got me there. I wouldn't be surprised, but the captain's gone rogue. So more than likely, if she had gotten word from the higher-ups, I would have heard about it. So as far as I know, we're not expecting any of ours in this meeting, but... who knows? Maybe the boss has something planned that just doesn't concern us.
Yeah. As we're walking, I'd like to lead him into the building that I had some of the poachers, scattered around looking at that I was kind of using as my base of operations.
Right, okay.
The unofficial Gaharis cave.
And he kind of stops a little bit and just like, is this where you've been staying?
No, but I paid a guy. He's the one that got me the potion. I got it in the bag. I got the curse-breaking potion, and I got the cake.
Give it to me.
Come on, I'm gonna lead him. I'm gonna go right in.
And he puts a hand on your shoulder and... now.
Does he seem threatening, or is it just... this is someone who's very desperate?
Make an insight check.
I would love to. That's a... well, 5 plus 5 is 10.
It's a little bit of both. Column A, column B.
I will pull out the thing. And I'm assuming this is just one dose of the cure. And I will hold it out to him.
And he just snatches it out of your hand without any. And just like... And you're sure this will work?
Yeah, I have it on good authority that it'll work. Got the cake to celebrate.
Where did you get this? We tried to save up our money and buy one, but they were always out of our reach. How much did it cost you?
Didn't cost me anything. Got for free. The one person who got for me said, it's a long time coming, and you deserve
it. So now the salesman has a soul, is that right? He spits at the ground.
Hey, if it works, it works. I don't care. I'm doing this for a friend. As long as it works, I don't give a shit what they think.
Thank you, mate. I see you have cake.
Got strawberries like you like.
I know I won't be able to taste it, but...
Drink the potion and you might be able to.
What if it's not safe?
I believe it is. And you know what? This is the best bet we have.
Make a persuasion check.
Sure. Oh, it's cocked. That is a 17 plus 11... 28?
17 plus? Okay, never mind. I can't count.
I was like, wait, is my math wrong?
Alright. He looks down at the potion, looks up at you, and there's like a half second of hesitation before. And then as he holds the uncorked vial out, he gives a smile and... To being alive again. You know what the first thing I'm gonna do after I can breathe again?
Eat that fucking cake, I bet.
You're God's damned right I am. And then I'm gonna find that gnome and personally rake his tiny little ass over the coals. And with that, he downs the entire thing.
Would you say that this is a surprise round?
Yeah.
As he says
yeah,
that?
I would. Garrus.
Yeah, so as he says that, I guess first question is, does he seem sincere? Like, this is someone that, like, do they seem like I have the intent to injure or kill this individual?
Make an insight check.
Okay, yeah, or is it just like their bluster? That is a 12 plus 5, 17.
You're not, like, positive, but in that moment, you suspect were Basil here, he would strangle that gnome without feeling a thing.
Alright. Then, as he drinks the potion, I will wait for him to take a breath.
I don't feel any different. How do I know if it worked?
Try the cake.
Yes. Give it to me. I'm starving.
I will put the cake, like, on a table, like, right there.
Yeah, so you want to, like, get him to actually enter the building now?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, there's probably still people, like, passing around. So
well, bear in mind, most of the people are gravitating to the
towards
boundaries.
The okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll give him the cake right here.
He just takes out of the bag and just full on, like, fists into it and just starts gnawing on it like a man who has not tasted proper food in years. And I could taste it. I could taste strawberries.
And I will drop the illusion. Wonderful. So, as you can see, I'm the only one, not the Cult of Red site, that pays on my end of the deal. Oh, don't look so displeased. You've got your life back. You can taste. You can smell. You can breathe. For nothing except... Well, you're free to go.
I'm not a fool. I've seen what you do to us.
Oh? I haven't killed a single one of you.
Yeah, but where one of you is, the rest of you aren't far behind.
I can assure you they're not. You can draw your weapon if you'd like. Or, perhaps you'd rather talk it out, which would be the smarter option. After all, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're someone that got dealt a raw card in a deal, and you've more than enough paid your penance.
Understand. Don't take my face and tongue. I didn't have a choice.
Oh, I'm not going to take anything.
We were starving. We had nothing. And that gnome turned us away. We didn't have the gold to pay for it. We couldn't pay for even one of us to get fixed, let alone the entire crew. We had to smuggle and trade and deal in cults just to make our undeath a little less torturous.
And I've secured a cure for each and every one of you, free of charge.
How?
Because, like it or not, I'm trying to make the world a better place. Ishmael, surely you agree that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a few months ago, this continent was ravaged by war, plagues, mimics, infestations, starvation.
What else is new?
What's new is now I'm here. And now, I intend to fix things that other people broke. And that starts by casting away old issues and old fights and working together. I don't offer you a cure to make you do something I want. I offer you a cure because it's the right thing to do. What you do with your life is up to you. All I ask is that you take a moment to understand that people change.
Make a persuasion check.
Sure. That is a 25.
What do you want from me?
Don't injure the gnome. Don't cause trouble in the city. Don't steal the dragons. And live your life. You have it back. You don't have to be a smuggler. You can live here. Work as a free, honest man. I don't ask anything of you except that you trust I have your best intentions at heart. I am trying to make a better place here. And I'd like that better place to have you in it.
And you swear the little blue boy's not gonna remove my parts?
The little blue boy is not here. Nor do I necessarily think to the little blue boy that he gives a shit what I do. Ivron will honor our agreement. Israel will honor it. Even Griaz, the furry one, will see value in it. We're not heartless. I don't know what they tell you. But we have only ever tried to make things better.
He is silent for a long moment, and is it true that the blue one took Daniel's tongue out?
Yes.
How is it he's able to speak again?
A few of the other Cult of Red Sight agents wanted him to escape or turn on us at an opportune time, so they, I don't know how they did it, but they regrew his tongue. And because we didn't see Tenniel as a monster, we treated him kindly, and we offered him a step forward. When the time came that he could turn on us, and likely could have killed all of us, he chose to help us, and in doing so, he saved hundreds of lives.
You know, I've lived here most of my life, and in all that time, all the wars and plagues, you're the first who didn't just come in trying to kill us all. Even beyond the reach of this red site nonsense. I wasn't there, but I heard what your people did to Caldwell's sister.
Another misconception. The Cult of Red Sight was behind that and have been playing both sides the entire time. Hence why we have stepped away from the Goldshine Investigation Agency, and why we are taking a more direct approach to solving this problem. You see, I don't like lying to others. I don't like to betray those who lend me their confidence. You understand that sometimes you must keep a secret for the good of everyone. But I have no intention to lie to you. Our enemy has been fighting both sides, pitting the Bluefield Alliance, pitting the Emelian Empire against each other to weaken both sides and make everyone afraid. They founded the Goldshine Investigation Agency and the Cult of Red Sight, all to create an atmosphere of fear in which they come to power. Caldwell's sister was no doubt killed at the machinations of the cult itself.
You know they're going to come after you. And there's still some of us out there. And if we're not immortal anymore, we're not going to be much help.
You don't have to fight for me, Ishmael. While I value if you do, I'm not going to force you to do anything. You're a free man that can choose the next steps in life in whatever direction you so choose. I hope that it's a good one. Know that those down here in the Silver Sanctum, everyone here, well, with the exception of the refugees, came here because they want a better tomorrow. They want the world to be better. They want better chances for them, their kids. Even Basil wants to be better. If the Cult of Red Sight want to come after me and take my head, they're welcome to try. I dare say I'm hard to kill, but...
Can you promise me something, Harry?
What?
This runs deeper. All this blood runs deeper than the Empire, the Alliance. I was here when the war started, and if the gods favor me, I may be here when it ends, but understand, Geharis, that it wasn't war that drove us to join up with those red site people. It wasn't loss of family. It wasn't even just us being greedy. Maybe we took something we shouldn't. Maybe we went a little too deep, got a little too cocky. But while you're up there trying to save the Empire from itself, I want you to remember that they had the ability to fix us for 10 years and turned us away because we couldn't afford it. Gold runs deeper than blood.
Perhaps for now, but perhaps one day it won't.
What I want you to promise me is that if you live and somehow manage to pull off what you're trying to do, promise me that this Silver City will never be a place where the hungry and the sick get turned away.
It never will. You have my word.
And
I hope...
do you mean that?
Oh, I do. No, that's absolutely Geharis is being 100% forthright.
Okay.
And I would like you to be here when it is. There are people here. There are refugees that have lost their homes. You have 10 years of knowledge of smuggling and of locating goods. You could change these people's lives and help us make it for the better. Whether it's medicine or food or materials. You don't have to put yourself on the front lines. But you could help us with the logistics of getting materials here that people need.
I used to be a priest before I joined with Captain Buckler. If you think there'd be a place for that.
We have a church here, right? That Utaka?
Yeah, Utaka's kind of created one.
I think that would be perfect.
I assume that there's no restrictions on which gods and goddesses we can...
I don't necessarily care who you pray to, as long as it doesn't harm or injure anyone living in the city.
It shouldn't, unless she gets a bit too temperamental.
And I will reach in my pocket, I'll pull out 250 gold, and I'm going to set it on the table to get your church started.
He kind of slowly scoops up the gold and just like stares at it almost reverently. But then you can almost see for a moment the divide between the man he was when he was cursed and the man he is now, kind of fighting with himself as he stares down at the pile of gold in his hands before closing his thumbs over it. And may Ampha try to protect you.
I am trying to protect you as well. I unfortunately must be going. I am under the belief that the negotiations above water are most likely going to have problems. If the ice is any indication, my guess is Kenny is on his way.
I'm not so sure. I was being sincere with what I told you. At the very least, the captain's not heard from anyone. Not since we lost Arpeggio. Everyone's gone dark.
Which is my worry. I think as the cult of Red Sight begins to suffer loss after loss, their loyalty will waver, and they will begin taking their newfound powers to further their own ends. And when that happens, well, everyone's going to get hurt that's in their way unless something's done about it. Kenny is hurt and doesn't know who killed his sister. How long do you think he's willing to sit in the desert?
Yeah, but then he makes it a lot less hot. I don't know. I can't say I ever knew the man well myself. May I ask you a question?
Of course.
What's in Amelia City?
A giant-ass dragon.
The priest. It's alive.
If our enemy is successful, yes. And it's almost freed, so I'm afraid I don't have a lot of time.
Gods. Whenever we were planning to intercept the siege on Veilbright, they wanted my crew and I to lay waste to the city on the way to Veilbright and meet up with Arpeggio and his troop halfway. We only held off because of what happened to him. To think what we almost set loose. I was there when it first laid waste to these lands. I know the devastation it leaves in its wake.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Was there a wizard there during that fight?
There was a lot of wizards.
And I will describe Tails, who has directly said he was there and lost his hands, as one of the few survivors.
The golden medallion, the robes. Yeah. We were first starting our smuggling operations on the lake at the time. We saw them fighting it at the Scaling Mountain. Managed to chop one of its heads off using a portal.
That's good to know. I must let you go. If you need any help carrying supplies, whether it's leaving the city or starting a church, I have men that can help.
I've always wanted to learn how to read.
Well, you should definitely reach out to a young man named Melvin in the library. I'm sure he would be dying to teach you how to read.
Mistlequill.
Yes.
Beard, black hair. Funny. Well, I suppose I'll go find him then.
Wonderful. Ishmael, make your next step the right step where you need to go. And I'm going to just walk out the door.
And the last thing you hear as you leave him in your improvised headquarters is a aye aye.
And then I'm going to make my way to the meeting place however fast I can, whether that is me swimming or me saying, Tails, please help, teleport me.
Tails! You call for Tails on the way to see if it can't shorten the trip. However, you get a very quick response of no.
The wizard you're trying to reach is not connected at this time. Try again later.
That's fine, that's why I pay other wizards.
You're just going to set it up so you have a wizard transit system?
Exactly.
They're called transportation circles.
Yep.
Figure it out. Coordinate them or something.
But yeah, so I will make my way.
Circles aren't hard.
I will make my way to the meeting as fast as I can get there.
Okay. Avron, Israel. As the two of you wait for the arrival of presumably the Hell Knights, as the Empress said they would be closest behind her, but you do know that the Sultan, Lady Onvile, and the Duchess are on their way. Gaharis, I'll say the quickest way would be taking advantage of the Goblin Construct mech, and they're still operating that, so they taxi you up to the surface and kind of drop you off in the Kipling jungle, and you can start winding your way along the coastline.
I mean, I've got a flying horse that can fly at like 160 feet per turn.
However, Gaharis, as the dragon slinks back beneath the waves, trying to be stealthy and out of the way, and yeah, you start readying to have Naden just cart you the rest of the way through the air, you feel something in the ground. As if something heavy is walking.
Is it headed towards the city, or is it headed towards the meeting place?
Well, both would be in the same general direction, but make a survival check.
Survival is a plus. Wow, +8. All right. Okay, that is a 12 plus 8, dirty 20.
It is definitely making its way towards the city, whatever it is, and whatever it is, it's big.
I will pull out the sending stone to Basil. Basil, there's something big underground headed towards the city. I don't know what it is. I'm headed to go check it out. Let everyone know. Also, the first individual you cured is a priest. I think that's my 25 words. And I will pull over my Cloak of the Manta Ray and go into the water, because I'm assuming it's coming from like an underwater subterranean.
All right, so you're going in the water now?
I can breathe underwater. I can walk on water. I can.
Okay, make a perception check.
All right, that's a 16 plus 8, 24. The other
Okay.
roll was a 4.
Gaharis, you're initially just like scrambling, so you're not able to like get a good glimpse of whatever it is, if you can even see it. But as you slink into the water and your blue face just kind of barely poking above the water line, Basil responds to you via your sending stone. Got it. I'll pass word along. See if I can't have Tails get everyone together. Stay safe. Be careful. And Gaharis, you can see several ahuls and pidges fly out from the tree line. Whatever it is passing through the jungle itself. And as you kind of like squint and kind of perk your head up above the water a little bit, you can see a massive quadrupedal shape stomping through the jungle.
Oh, it's Lady
How much more
Envio.
that is the Duchess.
Yeah, that's definitely Lady Envio. Hopefully.
It's either Lady Unvile, or I'm betting it's the gnomish Duchess, because the gnomes love to ride it on weird contraptions.
That's fair.
Like, I'm pretty certain.
Okay.
It could be an invading army, but I'm almost...
Oh yeah, I wasn't under the
reactions.
I wasn't under the belief that it was an invading army, but I was like, man, you know, if someone was our enemy and wanted us to fail horribly, sending something to attack our city that's our baby right now would be the worst thing. Yeah, so I guess I will just keep an eye on it. If it gets, like, threateningly close to the Silver Sanctum, I will try to move to cut it off.
Okay.
If it's moving more towards the meeting, you know, people are going to get warned by Basil, so.
Okay.
Then I'll just tell it.
Yeah, so are you going to tail it from the water or from the jungle, just so I know where you are?
Depends. So this is in the jungle. Depends on where it's headed, because if it's headed out of the jungle towards the Silver Sanctum...
It's in the jungle, taking essentially the pathway you guys took to get to Zidane, just taking that path towards Jor.
Okay. In which I will probably just fly on Naden. I think I can move faster on flying horseback than I can swimming.
And I'll say on flying horseback, you're actually able to get a better look, because you're seeing from above the tree line now. And since you already rolled a good perception check with advantage and everything, I'll go ahead and give you that one. Harris, you get astride Naden and staying careful and stealthy, and Naden takes off on demonic bat-like wings into the air, giving it the tea kettle hissing whinny as it takes into the slowly sunsetting sky. And as the pinks and yellows streak across the sky, Utaka. Griaz, at this point, you're well into your card game with Regina. You've probably even gone through a few rounds at this point, as, you know, Utaka's got to be doing this for days. But with a Tails appears between the two of you, kind of scattering some of the cards you had sat down, and you can see his hair is messy and he looks like kind of frazzled and panicked, and some of the halflings immediately just like excited, like, is this going to be another vision or something? But Tails, like, seeming like just like complete, like, exhausted and dead to the world, just Utaka.
I can see him. I thought I couldn't see them. They were like...
They're behind you, but you can hear his voice.
Okay. Is it going to break my cast if I, like, turn and look at him?
Let me actually check. What are you casting?
Hollow, which takes 24 hours.
Yeah.
Hey, Tails, he's busy, but do you need something?
We just got a report from Geharis that something is making its way towards Jor to sabotage the meeting, and I thought you two would like to be there for that.
How far into Utaka's casting are we?
At this point, you are, I'd say, about, doing some quick kind of back of the napkin math here, I'd say about 8 hours.
That's not very far at all. Damn. Well, I suppose we can just talk to him. I don't know if he can necessarily talk back, but I'll just Regina, pause and please stop whooping my ass.
If you insist.
Hey, bud. Hey, I know you're busy and you're doing your thing. You don't have to respond, break concentration, whatnot. Apparently, Harris said something real bad's coming to mess up the meeting. I know we are not even like halfway through, but totally up to you if you want to keep going with this. Everything seems fine here, and the halflings seem to have your back and then some. So if you want to finish this up, totally fine. I'm gonna head out. If you want to save this, table this for later, up to you. But yeah.
He will make eye contact with Griaz and look over Tails, seeming frazzled. Have we ever seen him like this? He's always so, like, put together.
No,
okay.
Yeah. It seems like you guys' kind of like loop of like asking him for shit is starting to take its toll.
I'll look between them and shake my head. Go.
All right. You change your mind, I guess just Tails already know about it.
I'm fine. Go.
Yeah, and one of the halflings looks to you, Griaz, and it's kind of like a brown furred one. And you can see they have like a peg leg, and they kind of give you a bow, and we will protect her with our lives, sir.
Him. Thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah, and stop staring so much. I mean, he's just doing it. It's fine. Yeah, entertain Regina. Weirdos. All right, Tails. Let's do this.
Tails gives a nod, and with very little ceremony, and the two of you vanish, and Regina kind of jolts a little bit and scooches closer to Utaka, seeming uncomfortable being in Vermin Hollow without a comforting presence. Ivron, Israel. Billy of the Poachers comes rushing, like trudging through the snow from the south side of town towards the two of you. And kind of, I'm sorry, I tried to stop them, but they're that way.
Who?
Ooh.
Gaharis, as you're flying up into the air, you can see whatever it is starting to reach the edge of the tree line and will come within sight of the town. And you realize what you're seeing is a parade of not one, not two, but three massive woolly mammoths. And riding on their backs, you see they have these structures set up, and you can just make out sitting in the one in the lead, legs crossed with a fine red beard, is who you would know as the Sultan of the Dwarflands.
Make way for Prince Ali. Sorry.
Ivron and Israel, you're able to make out from the south side of town. And you start to hear the beat of drums. Boom, 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 boom. As Sultan Rana Faris Haidar II, the Sultan of the Dwarves, has come to shore. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Incredible. I feel like Israel, after she got over like the panic, was like, I like this guy. I like his style. This is great. I support this.
100%. All right. Matt, can we get some sign-off music?
We very much can.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Graham. Do you or a loved one suffer from not enough D&D? Not having enough TTRPGs in your afternoon, evening, or even morning? Well,
it could even happen to you.
Lucky for you. Here at Graham Crackers, we are all about making memories with friends. Whether those are TTRPGs, RPGs, or even video games with friends, we are all about being your one-stop to make lifelong memories. My name is Graham, or Graham Crackers. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for spending your time with us. It is an absolute delight to have you here. Because, time spent with friends is time well spent. But I had the absolute delight of playing Gaharis tonight, your Tiefling Paladin Bard. Outside of that, you can find me here every Tuesday DMing two campaigns, Shards of Anarian and Anarian's Rest, which are both on hiatus because we finished Season 1. So now's your chance to take a month or two to catch up, watch all the hijinks, and wonder, wow, Graham, did your players really end a season with some on a different plane of existence? Yes. Yes, they did. But outside of that, you can find me here most Mondays where I play some sort of video game, whether those are Guild Wars 2, or Hunt Showdown, or some sort of video game that you can play with, the people you care about. Outside that, we are currently in the process of some new shows potentially coming to the channel at some point in the late 2022 season. But enough about me. I'd like to know a little bit about my friends that join me tonight. I'd like to know 3 things. Who are they? Where can we find them? And what projects are they working on that we can help support? Because they're important to us. So call now.
Call
Side
now
effects of TTRPGs include parasocial relationships, character bleed, increased friendships through online communication, and diarrhea. Consult your doctor. Consult your doctor to see if TTRPGs may be right for you. I'm still talking. Hi, everybody. I'm Derek Sloan. I play Griaz Bramble Pelt. I'm here. I'm back. I missed last week. I'm gonna miss next week because I moved across the country and time zones are weird, and I have to go and do real job stuff. But I will be back the week after that. And there's been a lot of change in scenery and stuff going on. So I have upcoming projects that are in the works, but nothing currently. So in the meantime, you can find me here pretty much every Friday for Goldshine Investigation Agency. You can also find the stuff that I have done in the past on YouTube and video on demand kind of stuff. Podcast. I did the podcast Monster Crush, which hopefully some new episodes coming out for that soon, and whenever my co-host can balance her grad school along with recording. But yeah, check out Monster Crush wherever podcasts are found. Check out first season of Horizon's Call on YouTube. Second season is coming up in just a couple of months, so as we can get situated here. But that is me.
Hey folks, I'm Pharaoh. I played Utaka. You can catch me here when season 2 of Anarian's Shards of Anarian. Oh my gosh, I'm getting myself confused now. When Shards of Anarian returns in the coming months, where I believe I shall be reprising Sina Starmain, a Leonin warlock paladin, who it seems will be forming a bit of a new group for the adventures that await. We've lost a couple players, but we've gained new ones, and we're gonna have an exciting time, I'm sure. So you can find us then on our bi-weekly Tuesday game when it returns, and until then, you can find me in a D&D Discord server near you.
If you or a loved one suffer from tabletop gaming, you may be entitled to experiencing a campaign. Symptoms of experiencing campaigns, or indeed of not experiencing them, can be trying to experience them vicariously through live streams. So as a result, if you need to fulfill that addiction, if you want to see more of my DMing, tune in on Mondays at 7 o'clock. I always get my times mixed up. Monday at 9:30 Central Daylight Time for my Monday stream on the Odd Tornado Productions Twitch and YouTube channels. Under Locks and Keys, featuring a party of globe-trotting treasure hunters trying to gather the artifacts of the gods so they can unlock a valuable treasure, terrible curse, preserved body of a second age warlord, one of them. They are currently in a pirate hosted tournament to try and win the Spear of Ares, where they have to do the first round of combat using first edition D&D rules. Our prayers be with them. And if that's not your cup of tea, tune in Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time on the same channels for my Tuesday game of Black Ink and Blue Blood, featuring a party of politicians and nobles trying to unravel a political conspiracy if they can stop stabbing each other in the back long enough. If there's anything I've forgotten to mention, check out Odd Tornado Productions official on Tumblr, where I post links to all the different stuff I'm involved with, or even tangentially connected to, like this very stream. Because as we all know, the DM is the most tangential part of a D&D campaign. Call the number on your screen and PM the host of this stream if you need compensation for your tabletop gaming.
Or maybe don't, but there's no number on the screen, so joke's on you. Hey everybody.
There's probably a number on the screen somewhere.
I invite you all to find the number on the screen. If you do, then maybe you are entitled to compensation based on the Fae message that you've received from the internet gods. So who am I to judge?
3. The number's 3.
Hey!
3. Dial that number now. And receive your compensation.
Not on the phone, though.
I was going to say, if I didn't have social anxiety, I totally would.
Anyway, hey everybody, it's me, Kari. I played Israel Blackthorn, the Fae Pact Warlock today, and you can find me here every Friday doing that same thing, which I desperately love to do. And you can also find me when we start up season 2 of an Arian's Rest, where we actually get to retrieve those party members from said other plane that we left them on, which was their choice. Not ours, but theirs. So I deny all involvement in that plane shift accident. But on that note, you can find me there when we start up again in like May. Yeah, catch us May 3rd. I want to say is the date. Yeah, May 3rd, season 2, An Arian's Rest. Be there, where I will be playing Karis, the Tiefling Wizard. With revelations under her belt and a horrible time ahead of her. It's gonna be great. Join me for that. Besides that, you can find me under the player name that will be in the chat if you want to come play Guild Wars 2 with me, which I do play. I am a reasonably competent player gamer person. I do raids, I do fractals, I do usually PvE content. So you want a map complete, I know where everything is. You want to just do random shit, I also do that too. You want to just look at pretty characters and compare fashion advice, I also am incredibly good at that. So, you want to hang out sometime, my player name's down there. Hit me up if you see me online. And enjoy. I love you all so dearly. And I will see you again next time.
Gosh, everybody's just so dang sociable. Wish I was as sociable as everybody else, but unfortunately, or fortunately for some of you, I am not. Hello everyone, my name is Jeremy, and I had the pleasure of playing with these wonderful folk as Lord Ivron Blackmont of the Barrow-Dell, Protector Asimar, Oath of Devotion Paladin, and you can find my various social media handles in the chat, I'm sure, but not a whole lot that goes on there. I'm a pretty busy guy and don't have the luxury of playing as much D&D as I would like to, but that might change in the future. Who's to say? Anyways, again, I hope you all had a wonderful evening and enjoyed watching it.
All right, I need some new. All right, I need some new music. Cue me up for something else. Hello, everybody. It's me again. It's that time of the night where I have to set you free to loose your love and terror on the world. So, without further ado, we are going to raid our good friends at Behold Roleplay, who are playing some D&D. So, we're going to pop in there and, let's spread some Graham love. Let's just say, hey, we love you. It's simple, it's right to the point, and you know what? Gosh darn it, we love everybody here. Because, you know what? That's just who we are. So, everyone, for joining us, thank you so much. It is absolutely phenomenal to spend time both with this wonderful cast, as well as all of you in the chat. So for those of you that stuck around, love you all, and we'll see you soon. So until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay hydrated. Goodbye for now.